Now that looks better. Kevin Durant at his age and what he's had to endure ever since he had the ACL tear, battling back from that, then the knee injury, and now another ankle injury. What does this mean for the future of Kevin Durant? We know what he could be by himself, right? In terms of he's still A1, he's still like an apex predator when it comes to what he could do on the basketball court. But with these injuries, clearly you're taking a risk on him at this point in his career by assuming he can be that guy. So we'll talk about the injury. I will show the clip of the injury, and we will navigate what it means from there, how bad of a sprain it is, what grade level it is, and going through the prospects of what does this mean for the Phoenix Suns. They got rid of all of their depth to go get KD, which was the right thing to do. If KD is available and you have young pieces that are expendable and Cam Johnson and Mikal Bridges, you go ahead and you do it. But now that he has fell down and maybe gone boom, now what? So we'll touch on that. Kyrie Irving spoke today, and he had a lot to say. Mans went on Twitch, and it's just a lot. I have the clips here loaded, ready to go. We'll be able to touch on that. Hopefully the audio will come through, but I don't think we'll have a problem there. But there is a lot to discuss when it comes to Kyrie Irving and the things he had to say today. And then we'll move over to some NFL and Aaron Rodgers. There is a update, kinda, sorta. Things are progressing in the right way. If you are a Jets fan, if you're a Packers fan, it's looking like Jordan Love is your man's. He looked like he's going to be your QB1 heading into this season. So we will touch on all of that and more if we have time. Always appreciative of the comments. If you want to go ahead and do that, pull up. There's a lot to get into here. I have a lot of extra stories that if we have some spillover time, if we blow through this first portion of the show, then we can touch on those. But as of right now, let's go ahead and jump into Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant gets hurt. Pre-game warm-ups? Yeah, let's go ahead and just jump right into it. Let's not waste any more time. So Kevin Durant, during layup line, it was supposed to be his home debut in front of the Phoenix fans last night. I don't think I need the sound for that. No, I don't need the sound for that. Let's go ahead and just show the injury. Oh, we have the audio anyway. So there you have that. Yeah, that's just not good, right? So you see that here, awkward step. And that was the clip that really showed the injury. But if you see what he was trying to do leading up to that, it kind of makes it even more weird that this happened. So it's going to pull this view up and make sure to kill that audio. And, you know, you see him here getting ready, getting loose, regular pregame drills, and then just, I don't know if it was a bad step. It just kind of gave out on him. Now, he finished his drills. So that's why for some people it's a little confusing, because when Shams came down with the report that he's out for the game, you know, at that point, once you see him roll his ankle like this and then he goes and he finishes his pregame routine, you're like, oh, okay, we just rolled it. But apparently it wasn't just a roll. Apparently it was more serious than that. And it appears, as we, you know, move on here to the next screen, there is concern within the Suns organization that Kevin Durant has a grade 2 sprain and could miss the remainder of the regular season and potentially the start of the playoffs. Now, the reason why that grade 2 part is the most important part, because that is an injury that, by and large, you're normally out 4 to 6 weeks. So it's not a grade 1 sprain where you're essentially just roll your ankle and you might need to miss maybe a week or 2 at the max. You know what I'm saying? So now we have a grade 2 sprain, which is more severe. It's closer to a complete tear. It's a partial tear, grade 2 sprain. So 4 to 6 weeks. Now there were some reports that people around the Suns, once this report came out, and, you know, spells doom and gloom, obviously people around the Suns try to refute the report or try to paint a different, you know, picture, a different outlook of what the injury might be for Kevin Durant. And what we have here is that the Suns, including D Book, are all saying, well, Kevin's fine. They're all saying just Kevin's fine. Like he was walking around, but man's had a boot on. So I don't know how he's fine, but he's in the boot. I know a boot can be preventative at time. I understand that. But in regards to, I don't know if I would jump out that window and just say, well, because D Book And people around the Suns are saying, well, he finished his pregame workout. Yeah, he finished his pregame workout, and then y'all shut him down for the night, and y'all probably going to shut him down for at least the next few weeks. So that's just not a regular roll your ankle. You know, in similar ankle news, and definitely not to the importance of Kevin Durant, but Mo Bamba also is out for the remainder of the regular season because he rolled his ankle like severely the other day. I think it was over the weekend. So ankle sprains are no joke, especially when it's at grade 2. Grade 2, that's 4 to 6 weeks. That's normally what you're looking at here. So, you know, obviously the Suns went out and took care of business last night. D-Book went crazy. I think he had a 40-piece in under 30 minutes. So there's no real concern in regards to how the Suns look going forward. I think the point is that if KD actually does miss the remainder of the regular season, that part's not necessarily an issue. The issue for the Suns is that second part here and potentially the start of the playoffs. Now, do they need KD in the first round? I would say no. They don't need KD in the first round, but there is a scenario. Let me come off the screen here so I can load this up here. But there is a scenario where you can't really play around. You can't play with your food. You can't play with your breakfast if you're the Suns. There is a scenario where if they mess around here and stick at a certain seed, they're probably going to need KD. Let's bring this back in. Okay, so you see where they're at right now. Make sure y'all can see that. Yeah, I can see that. All right, cool. So they're at the 4 seed right now. I was under the impression, and I know many around the league also, that they were probably going to catch the Kings, light the beam. They're taking on Knicks tape tonight. We'll see how the Kings do against Knicks tape tonight. But light the beam, the Kings, they were probably going to run down the Kings and probably hold on to that 2 spot. Now, if KD's out, as great as D-Book can be, you know, y'all know how I feel about the point fraud. And if you don't know, we are not point fraud fans. You know, that point guard that plays for the Phoenix Suns, like, we don't speak of his name. He's just known as the point fraud. But, you know, I think there's a scenario where if this 4-5 stays that way, or even if we're assuming Memphis is probably going to fall, right? Because we're all under the impression that Ja probably won't be back for a while. So if that's the case and they fall to a 4, Phoenix takes them over, gets to the 3. If this stays where it's at, Phoenix, Clippers. Now, the Clippers have been a weird team to try to navigate and handicap. Some nights they look great. Boardman and Pandemic P go off, and you're like, oh, okay, this is what people thought this team was going to look like a few years ago when they were, you know, on the cover of Sports Illustrated, when that was kind of still a thing, in terms of these are going to be, you know, championship contenders. That team was predicted to win a Larry O.B. Hasn't really worked out that way for a myriad of reasons, but more importantly, load managing and just Kawhi has a degenerative knee that no one is really allowed to speak about. But he has a bad knee that's never going to get better, and so whatever you get out of Kawhi is just gravy at this point, essentially. So that 3-6 matchup, can the Suns, with potentially no KD at the start, no Bridges, and no Cam Johnson, can they win the first round against a team like the Clippers? Like, I think if they somehow draw the Warriors, I think they're in good space. That's a good spot for them. But if they somehow fall, if they move up to 3, Memphis falls to the 4, Clippers stay around this 6 range, I don't like that matchup. I think KD will be back by then. I think they would rush because, again, Phoenix went all in. They did the move that they were supposed to do. Kevin Durant's available. You give up whatever you got to give up to go get Kevin Durant. Even though you knew he was coming off of a knee injury, even though we know he had a torn ACL in the past, it's still Kevin Durant. You go make that move. So that's not the issue. The issue is that if you make that move and then Mans gets hurt, you just send away all your depth to Brooklyn. You just jettisoned all your most valuable pieces to the Nets. The cupboard is bare. Who's left? And I remember, I think it was earlier this week, we were talking about the depth of the Suns and just like, well, look, they can afford an injury at point guard because they have campaign. But those other three, there's no depth behind them. And we can go into let's go ahead and go into this roster because you're going to see, I mean, they win last night, but it's the Thunder, so we know what's happening there. But take a look at who we have here for your Phoenix Suns. Okay, so this is who's getting minutes. T. Ross, campaign. Look, he can supplant the point guard there. So we're not concerned about that per se, right? But in regards to who's the backup to DeAndre Ayton if he gets hurt? Who is it? Bismack? That's problematic. No KD. So now you're getting Torrey Craig, Okogie. Like, these are not guys, like these guys aren't going to get that done. So that's why you see D Book went out there and went crazy. 17 to 23, 6 threes. Like, he's going to have to do that. Because I'm sorry, I know people out here still, clamoring for the point fraud right here. And y'all can't see his points there. I'll let y'all see the points. So I see people are still clamoring for the point fraud, but in regards to, like, he's mid at this point, right? Like, I think we can all, he would have had the easiest job ever in his career. And, on my podcast, the DCMD podcast, I do a running bit where every year the team that he's on fails for the last 2 seasons for sure. I do a reckoning and we call that man to task because the basketball gods don't like ugly. And the basketball gods have found a way every single year. I've only highlighted it the last 2 years, specifically on my podcast. I dedicated an entire episode to it. But in regards to every single year, something has happened for this man. When he's in a position of power, in a position where you might think this might be the year, something always seems to happen. Is this yet again another example of the basketball gods proving that they don't like ugly? Anyway, so again, if D Book goes out, you got T. Ross. That's not good. Even though T. Ross is a bucket, he can do some things, but in terms of a playoff series, you don't want T. Ross starting. So there's no depth. At least if you would have had, if you lose D Book, Mikal Bridges, as we're seeing in Brooklyn Bridges, he's out here cooking. And Cam Johnson can also do work. But now when you go get Kevin Durant and you give up your 2 most valuable, not only just young pieces, but your most valuable depth pieces, there's nothing left. So losing Kevin Durant really exposes the fact that the Phoenix Suns really mortgaged everything. I know a new owner wants to jump in there, make a big splash and all of that. And he did the move that most of us would have done. Like, I don't think you regret the move. You could regret it once you have hindsight, once you have revisionist history. But in regards to in the moment, we're all trading for KD. KD's available. All right, sorry. Welcome to Brooklyn Bridges. Like, go ahead, had at Cam Johnson. Sorry, man. You had a spark when you started. Carry that on to Brooklyn. But now you done gave up all your depth. And what's left? What exactly is left here? Not much when you really think about it. Not much. So I think there's going to come a point where if you're actually looking for what can the Phoenix Suns be now? If they lose, all right, let's go ahead and do the schedule. Let's go ahead and do the schedule. You know what? We can do that better from their page. I don't want to do wins and losses per se, but let's just take a look at what's left because seeding is going to be very important. And you just saw on the standing screen how, the loss column is so tight between like the 13 seeded and the 4 seed. So they're lighting the beam on Saturday, right? Warriors, Bucks. Oof, this is not the easiest schedule. Orlando, that's a dub. OKC, that should be a dub. Lake Show, can't say that's a dub. Kings, Philly, Utah, Timberwolves. This is a brutal schedule. This is not layups. Look, with no KD and no depth, Phoenix could be in trouble. D Book's gonna have to, go into the booth and put on his cape. He's gonna have to go into a phone booth and put on his cape if this team wants to move up to get that 2 seed. They're gonna have to really go hard all the way through because this is not an easy schedule. Is this a schedule that if you okay, I'll put it plainly. If you're checking out the stream here, is this a schedule that a D book led with very little to no depth, can he will this team to a 2 seed? Because from what I'm looking at, this ain't no joke, bruh. You got maybe 3 cupcakes, maybe, because you got OKC and the Spurs. Outside of that, I mean, maybe this Nuggets game doesn't mean anything because they'll have the number 1 seed locked up for real. Maybe. But if I'm Denver and I got a chance to put you down lower, oh, I'm playing Jokic, I'm playing Jamal Murray, Aaron Gordon, MPJ if he's healthy. I'm playing all of them. I'm trying to bury the Suns. So it's not looking good. That was a huge injury. Even though they don't necessarily need him for all these games, in purposes of seedings, now looking at this schedule, they kind of did. They kind of did need KD. That's going to be interesting with no depth. The issue is that there's no depth, and I don't know who you're going to sign. Like, do they go and sign somebody for the next few weeks to help them out? Melo? I don't think they'll do it, but this is a problem. Because again, the loss column is the thing here to focus on in the Western Conference. When you have, the play-in is 34 losses, 35, 34 losses. That's only 4 to 5 games behind where the Suns are at the 4 seed. Somebody's going to have to do something in Phoenix. And here's where that problem gets compounded, because now, in essence, you could have had the point fraud chilling for the better part of the regular season. He could have just been coasting. Now he can't coast. Now he's going to have to expend energy. And this man, I'm not going to say they've been load managing, but they certainly have been way more careful with his minutes this year than in years past. He's an old man. Now he can't really just rest and just coast into the first round. D-Book, he's going to have to keep putting up 40 pieces in under 30 minutes like last night to where they can give themselves a night off. But close competitive games, those are going to be increasing. Those are going to be something to pay attention to, because he's going to have to expend a lot of energy. DeAndre Ayton is going to have to expend a lot of energy. Phoenix, they're not in trouble. But if you put in the futures bet, when they made the Kevin Durant move, dicey. All right, so we'll come off that. That could be something to pay attention to. If you think the Suns are not going to have a problem, let me know in the comments. I mean, I'm here for it. I think it's going to be a little dicey for the Phoenix Suns, especially looking at that schedule that they have. It's not a lot of cupcakes there, maybe 3 max, but we shall see. So come off that. Aaron Rodgers. So there's a lot. Update: the Jets have optimism that they are on the brink of acquiring Packers QB Aaron Rodgers. The Packers and Jets remain engaged in conversations about compensation and contracts. So here's the deal when it comes to A-Rod. He's going to get 58 M's this upcoming season if he remains a Packer. There is talk that if he does accept a deal and come to the Jets, there's going to have to be some restructuring of that contract. Now, this is where you have to figure out, and we've talked about this earlier in the week, where it's a $58 million decision. Do you want to stay in Green Bay and just collect that 58 M's, or do you want to come here to the Jets, maybe defer some of that money, and then have a chance to really win a Lombardi next year? Where do you stand on Aaron Rodgers? I will hold you, and I'll come on the screen here for a little bit, because I just want to see if there's anything new. I'm getting a little tired of the Aaron Rodgers story. I kind of am. Only because it's like, yo, is it happening or nah? Because at this point, the Jets have already lost out on Derek Carr. They haven't announced anything about Lamar Jackson, so we don't know if they are part of the camp that's colluding against Lamar Jackson or not. And it's like, well, who else is available? Like, there's some reports that the Rams might be willing to move Matt Stafford. I mean, to go from Aaron Rodgers to Matthew Stafford, that would be sus, to be quite honest with you. But at least it's not, Zach Wilson or Mike White. Oh, yeah, and quick Lamar news. I've been going crazy with the clips about Lamar, and there's been a lot of engaging conversations and in all the clips in regards to Lamar, but I won't jump out the window too crazy, but this is what we have, the latest. The Patriots aren't expected to pursue Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson. Now we have the total amount of teams that reportedly are out on Lamar as the Falcons, the Commanders, the Dolphins, the Panthers, and now the Patriots. And there's also conflicting reports about the Raiders, because we spoke about the Raiders when the franchise tag deadline passed. And I was like, well, the Raiders got reports. There were reports from Blue Check boys and girls that the Raiders said that they're not out on Lamar Jackson. And since then, there's been reports saying that they may be out on Lamar Jackson. And to me, I've been saying here on this stream, it doesn't really matter, because they can't afford it. They can't afford Lamar and if he's truly trying to get fully guaranteed money, they can't afford it as a team, because they're a family-owned business, and that's primarily their main source of income, like the Buss family with the Lakers. So the Raiders don't got it. Even if they wanted to give Lamar, 200 guaranteed or 250 or whatever the number is that would make Lamar do it, they just don't have it. So add the Patriots to the Falcons, Commanders, Dolphins, and Panthers. And again, the reason why this is collusion, in my strong opinion, is that Falcons have a need at quarterback. Commanders have a need at quarterback. Dolphins, they're allegedly still trying to get Brady to spin the block. So if that's the case, then they clearly are willing to move on from Tua Tagovailoa. So they potentially have a need at quarterback. The Panthers have a need at quarterback. And the Patriots, it's Mac Jones. They have a need at quarterback. Now, I don't think Lamar fits what Bill Belichick would want to do, even though they had that Cam Newton experiment a couple of seasons ago, and at times it looked to be okay. I don't think they would run that back. So I don't think they would even want Lamar anyway. But they have now announced that they're not going to pursue Ravens quarterback Lamar Jackson. So let's see if we can find anything else that is good here. Geno was announced. He signed his deal. Okay, this is something here on Aaron Rodgers. We can stick on that. The Packers are looking for a first-round pick for QB Aaron Rodgers. Of course. There was some reporting being done that they also want another pick in addition to the first if he plays again next season. So does that mean a first and a second? It's all this word salad, all of this alleged reporting that's being done, which is purely just speculation, where these insiders are just talking to various people in these organizations. They're not necessarily talking to the head honchos. They're not necessarily talking to the GM or the VP of football operations. They're not doing that. They're talking to scouts. They're talking to assistant coaches. They're talking to other people, lower level people in the front office. Like, this is where all the sourcing gets done. Are they actually getting real information? Because right now, everyone is spitballing. There was various reports of what Aaron Rodgers and the Jets were doing. There was one report that Aaron Rodgers was flying to New York. Then there was another report that the Jets front office was flying to Green Bay. Then there was another report that the Jets were flying to California to meet with Aaron Rodgers. Again, it's all this speculation because no one really knows. All these insiders are just taking it. They're getting information text to them, and then they're running with it. No one knows what the hell is going on. And that's why, low key, I'm just kind of like, can we just get this over with? Can we get Aaron? Are you staying or are you leaving? You going to take the 58 M's and stay? Or are you going to leave and restructure that contract and go chase a Lombardi? Excuse me, not a Larry, be a Lombardi. Make up your mind at this point. Because all the speculations every single day is It's just getting to be too much. Like, bruh. There was one last report. Vikings are potentially going to part ways with Adam Thielen. That's not that big of a deal. All right. Yeah, I think that's, I mean, if we want to talk QB money. All right, let's see. Yeah, we could talk about QB money one last time just so we could see the money here. Now, this is the money that we're talking about. And you see Daniel Jones is highlighted here because he's getting 40 per. But this number for Aaron Rodgers is not accurate. It's 58 million. But you see Dak Prescott wants his contract to be renegotiated, and it's because he now has Daniel Jones in his neighborhood. And I think Dak Prescott wants to be in that Josh Allen, Mahomes, Watson neighborhood. Like, he wants to be on this side of the chart. He wants to be on the Kyler Murray, Deshaun Watson side of the chart. He don't want to be next to Daniel Jones. But you see, Aaron Rodgers is the king of the hill, and he might have to restructure that deal. But this number is not accurate. It's 58 M's. So maybe that's including bonuses, something to that nature. Maybe when he reports to camp, there's some extra bread that kicks in, but this might just be the straight raw base annual salary. But the number that's been thrown about this entire negotiation process is 58. So I think it'll be interesting once we finally get word somehow, some way about this Aaron Rodgers thing. But I think I can speak for all of us here on the stream. And thanks for those who have been pulling up. Drop a like if you haven't already. Helps the algorithm, helps the channel. A deal needs to be done in ASAP. I'm getting a little tired of, like, he's holding the market hostage. Because if you're the Jets, you want to know if you're in on Lamar. I think the Jets might go along with the collusion and go along with the other teams that have, publicly said that they're out on Lamar. But if I'm the Jets, I would say screw that. If I'm the Jets and Aaron Rodgers decides to stay and collect the 58 M's, I would go run and go give the Ravens 2 first-round picks. Here, take them. So I don't know what's going to happen there, but I think Aaron Rodgers is doing a disservice to not only the Jets, but to all of us. You went into a darkness retreat for what, 2-3 days? You were supposed to emerge with some kind of clarity. I mean, I think he knew prior to going into that darkness retreat what type of time he was on, but I'm assuming those 2-3 days and whatever ayahuasca he was taking have further helped that clarity. But it's like, bruh, like, make up your mind already. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, the Jets are trying to get a QB, a legitimate QB. They lost out on Derek Carr. Geno Smith is staying. Unless you want to spin the whole narrative of Jimmy Garoppolo, I mean, I don't know who else would be out there. If they're going to publicly join the collusion and say they're out on Lamar, who else is available if Aaron Rodgers says no to the New York Jets? They're in a jam here. Unless you want to tell me they're going to, let me see if I can pull up. Let's see if we can figure out. Let's see what we can do with the Jets here. So they have the 13th pick. Let's say Aaron Rodgers stays and they say they join the collusion and say they're out on Lamar. Then what? What are they doing? Jimmy Garoppolo is not available. I don't think that's an option. Like, I don't think you go do that. So now you're the 13th pick. How high do you have to move up to get a QB? Because there's some reports that Anthony Richardson might go number 1. Like, whoever the Bears trade out with, right? There's some serious consideration that Anthony Richardson could go 1. So let's do. Well, this is all assuming there's no trade. So we can't really go off of this too crazy. But in terms of, look at where the QBs are. Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, Anthony Richardson, 7 to the Raiders. If you're the Raiders, I mean, they don't have the money. I'll stop mentioning the Raiders and Lamar. They just don't have the money. But I think him with Devontae Adams and potentially, if they figure out what to do with Waller, with Josh Jacobs on the franchise tag, that's an offense that can go. But you go get Anthony Richardson. I mean, he doesn't project to be Lamar to me. He projects to be more of a Cam Newton, Justin Fields type, allegedly. So, there's that. The Panthers, if they take Will Levis at 9, that's a humongous reach to me. Gigantic reach to me. The fact that you're turning down Lamar Jackson to, you're going to pair DJ Moore with Will Levis. Is that really how you're going to ride out with DJ Moore? Is by giving him Will Levis. So all those QBs, in theory, are going to be off the board if the Jets stand pat at 13. So where do the Jets need to get to be in the mix to get one of these, assuming 4 QBs? There's 4 QBs here. If Aaron Rodgers says no, you're going to announce you're out on Lamar, I would assume you're not going to go the retread route like a Jimmy G. How do you improve? Because we know Zach Wilson is not it. Zach Wilson is not it. So how do you get better at that position? You're a QB away from seriously contending with the talent, the young talent, the young top talent that you have on both sides of the ball. If you're the Jets, where are you going QB-wise? If Aaron Rodgers says no, you're going to join a collusion with Lamar Jackson and say you're out on Lamar. And you should not, I hope you should not, go get a retread like Jimmy Garoppolo. Where do you go after that? If there's 4 QBs all taken in the top 10, what are you willing to give up in terms of collateral to get into that? You got to get above the Panthers. I would say probably above the Raiders to be safe. But then that depends on who the Bears trade with. Like if the Bears trade down, let's say they trade down to 4, Colts move up. Now and the Bears are looking to trade down allegedly multiple times because they need the picks. They've been giving away picks left and right over the years. So they need as much draft collateral as they can. So the Bears might trade down a few times. So if they make a trade with the Colts, I mean, hell, even the Seahawks, even though they announced Geno today, like Pete Carroll and them have said, we're not opposed to taking the QB high. And Geno has said if they draft a QB high, he's down to mentor that QB. So that could be a thing there. Lions, I know Jared Goff was okay, but you can't tell me Jared Goff is the future. They should be in the mix for a QB. Then you got the Raiders who have a need. I mean, the Falcons, that's just a poverty franchise with them announcing that they're out on Lamar. So I really don't care what the Falcons do. I think that's a miscarriage of justice, them announcing that they're out on Lamar. Your man's Arthur Blank was running scared. He was willing to give Deshaun Watson, nasty man Deshaun Watson, guaranteed money just last year. Now all of a sudden he can't find it within himself to give guaranteed money to Lamar Jackson. Make it make sense. So yeah, if you're the Jets, how do you get better? It's almost all or nothing with Aaron Rodgers. Because knowing Woody Johnson, if you know the Johnson family, I can't see them being in on Lamar. So if that's the case, then if Aaron Rodgers spurns them and goes back to Green Bay and collects that 58 M's, what do you do with the Jets when you have, offensive rookie of the year, defensive rookie of the year? You have all these pieces. What the hell do you do? What the hell do you do? Well, maybe we'll have some clarity by tomorrow's stream, but that's something where I would be furious, absolutely furious, if I was the Jets and Aaron Rodgers says no. You make us wait. We had Derek Carr ready to pull up. And then I don't have all this green because I'm into the Jets. Just a happenstance. I try to match with the hoodie. But if you are the Jets and you get spurned by Aaron Rodgers, I'll be furious. You led us along. You made us fly out to wherever you're at. You made us wait for your darkness retreat where you're high off the ayahuasca allegedly. And we had Derek Carr. He was willing to pull up, but we had to wait for you because you're better than Derek Carr. You hold us hostage, and all these QBs are off the board. They could have spun the block on Geno. Could have, but no. But now they're going to be out on Lamar if you know the Johnson family. Aaron Rodgers says no. Absolutely furious. And then the Packers should be furious because they're out here now talking about Jordan Love is going to be QB1. So now they're being held hostage. So Aaron Rodgers is holding not only us hostage as football fans, analysts, things like that. He's now holding hostage the Packers and the Jets. Hopefully we get an answer soon. Well, that would do it for me. I'll wrap it up here. Appreciate those who have been able to pull up. Thank you for those who have hit the like button. If you haven't subscribed to the channel. We do these daily streams where we go down the timeline and take the latest sports news and information and rumors and innuendo and whatever, and we turn it into timeline tea. Sometimes the tea is spicy, like some ginger tea. Sometimes the tea is a little bit chill, like today, where it's English breakfast tea. But no matter the tea, I'll be on the timeline looking forward. So for the Sam D, which is myself, Sam Duzume Jr., thank you for tuning in to Timeline Tea. I'll be back here tomorrow afternoon at 4 o'clock. Peace.